So, as promised, the devs have gone and increased the values, improved the buff food that you would get within Chult and the Stronghold. Now, the great advantage to this food is it stacks with the other consumables you may already normally use. For example, I was to go and use Doro Tibs here from within Chult, 600 Astral Diamonds per piece. You can see it won't expire upon death, but double clicking that and using it, we can see it's now in our buff bar. And normally on every build I would run like Flask of Potency, Squash Soup, and like a Sunlord Gift Elixir or Wildstorm Elixir. That's on a DPS it is. And you can see we have all 4 benefits. That means you can obtain that food which will stack with that other food. And that's great. The values have been significantly increased for this Chult food. You can see it now gives 8,000 hit points. All of them do. And then it gives you a total of 1,600 of a rating point. The first one here gives defense, then power, then crit strike, then accuracy, movement speed of 2%, that's unique, and then here awareness, and finally outgoing healing, which is pretty cool. The old versions just here gave, you can see, only 114 of a stat of a rating point and only 571 maximum hit points, which is a bit of a joke. So they've vastly improved its effectiveness, but you don't really want to be running this stuff unless you're on a serious budget and don't care much for guilds, as we want to head over to the Stronghold. And when you're here, of course, it will depend what guild you're in. You're going to have to be in one that actually has the guild marketplace. And this vendor just here, the barmaid, should sell you some very nice food as well. You may get your initial quest just there, but here you can see the store. Now, you will need guild marks in order to buy this, but the benefit is much higher than the Chult food. Just checking over on the live server, you can see that the most expensive food just here, which is 350 without the discount, only gave 1,429 hit points and 286 of a rating, with the Sambocade being unique, giving 5% movement speed. And we can check now with the changes that each of these most expensive foods are going to give you 20,000 maximum hit points and 4,000 of a rating point. That is good, not as good as I hoped, but still good and definitely something you can make fit in your build. Now again, just like the Chult food, we have one with defense, we have one with power, another with critical strike, accuracy, our special movement speed one, of which only the hit points have changed, 5% still stays the same, and then your awareness, and finally your outgoing healing. So that's really good there. For a DPS, like on my wizard right now, I've kind of maxed out my stats, at least here on the preview server. I still need to do some more tweaking on live so that we have our 90% power, combat advantage, crit strike, and crit severity, and we'll miss a bit of accuracy. So what I will be doing is most likely buying a bunch of this Ratatouille for the accuracy along with the hit points. The hit points will help a lot when you're running content where the boss is gonna like one-shot you if you, let's say, died. And so that is within like your advanced dungeon, your Temple of the Spider Master. Those mechanics are very punishing, especially the second boss. You die once, and if you've got a few stacks, the Scream can just one-shot you then because you're just under the minimum bar of the maximum hit points you should have. You should have, like, looking on my build on the previous server, over 900k hit points, and that's with a hefty amount of item level. You can see on live, I can still get away with completing it with only just over 800k hit points. But that is only just, and that's with playing all the mechanics right. So what you should be doing now is taking advantage of the ability to gain twice as much guild marks for this week. Again, it would only last another 2 hours, and on top of that, you will gain twice as much influence from all influence sources, such as heroic encounters, marauders, etc. And then you can also get twice as much of the shards, and then those you can donate to your guild, and anything you donate to your guild coffer, just here you can see will give you a whole bunch of influence, and we're gaining double the amount during this event. So that is great, and that's what you want to do now. Get those guild marks. If you're a serious endgame player, make sure you have enough guild marks so that you can get this food. For example, again, I would go and run with the ratatouille. We'd buy a bunch of that. Yes, it is actually pretty expensive, to be honest, like 70, costing nearly 20,000. And well, the lucky thing is it's not going to expire when you die. So it's going to go here for me on my buff food track. I will be using my Flask of Potency, my Squash Soup, a Sunlord's Gift Elixir, and the ratatouille. And then you can use like an Invocation Blessing as well, except that expires when you die and it's not really feasible to refresh while in combat. You're better off refreshing your Squash Soup and Flask of Potency whenever you die in combat. And you can see then on your buffs, you can have all of those benefits along with your well rested, that's your campfire buff. So that is great. We're essentially gaining like 4,000 rating points and 20,000 hit points through this change. Ultimately, I think it's a good change. It makes this food actually viable to run. It actually can be pretty important then for endgame players to run, and it makes guilds maybe a bit more populated, as people will want to try and get those guild marks to be able to buy that food. But again, it does not expire when you die. For example, we go, I'm stuck, defeat me, and when we release and revive, much like the elixirs, it won't expire when you die. So that's really nice. It's a true 30-minute duration of combat time. So you're going to make good use of that food. You don't have to continually refresh it like we have to with Squash Soup and the Potency. And then you get those benefits back. And every time you die, you want to do that if you're at least a serious endgame player. So make sure to take advantage of that and get those marks, those guild marks, while we have ×2. Donate to your guilds. You might need to find a guild which is empty, that has space for what you want to donate, but make sure to take advantage of it. Ultimately, the food's not there. It's not been updated just yet, but we can check, will the food update moving forward? Or will we be stuck with a bunch of old food with only the ability to buy the new food? Let's go and check that. So again, on the live server here, let's just buy one piece of ratatouille. Very nice. We do have the discount there, so it only costs 280. We'll put that just there in our bag, and we can see it's got the garbage stats there, really minuscule. We go copy that character over to the preview server. We can see that indeed the food will get updated to the newer version. So yes, go and buy the food that you need now. For me, it's mainly going to be ratatouille just because it's easiest to fit in our current build. Otherwise, I would have to change my build around a bit more in order to adjust for it. On a side note, you may also notice I run Caprice here. And that is because if we look at our HP, 938,000, make sure we have the Revive Sickness. When we do go and die and we scroll again, you can see we lose like 5% of our maximum hit points due to this skull we have. And so that is why I would have a Caprice here in order to get back that 5% hit points. And so the boss can't like one-shot you just because you're a little bit under your max HP due to having a skull. Of course, if you receive another skull, well, you'll reduce your hit points again by 5%. And you can reduce your hit points all the way down by 25% if you have the Revive Sickness. And if you don't have that, you're reducing your hit points by 50%. Yeah, so it's vitally important you have this Revive Sickness boon, and on top of that, then to have like Caprice as a backup so you don't end up in like a spiral of continual deaths. Like once you die once, you'll continually die because, yeah, you have less HP, and so the boss will keep killing you with a certain mechanic. That's for master content, not as important for any general content. And so with this new guild food, having that increase of 20,000 maximum hit points to us is pretty significant. That will really help people survive a bit more against that challenging content, because the content's designed not for us to have this extra 20,000 hit points. So it'll make it a little bit easier, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Special thank you again to all of these channel members for their added support. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.